So I want everyone to close your eyes for a second and picture a ballerina. Great, open your eyes. Now I want you to raise your hand if you would describe that ballerina as thin or skinny. Great, so that would be probably majority of the room. So dance is an art form that relies really heavily on the body as its instrument. So therefore, a lot of dancers tend to be really conscientious about their body image and how they're perceived by other people. So in dance, there's always a lot of pressure to conform to a certain body image, and we see that a lot in ballerinas like the ballerina you just pictured. So that's probably something like you had in your mind. So therefore, a lot of eating disorders have become really prevalent in the dance community, which is a huge epidemic. I'm a dancer, so I've been dancing the past 15 years. It's my entire life. I love it so much. And unfortunately, the really negative side of that is I have watched a lot of my peers and my friends and even professionals from afar really struggle with this idea of body perception and body image in dance. So let's dive in deeper. So the body of a dancer is most prominently influenced through a perceived body image, a constant strive for perfection, and even eating disorders sometimes. So as we've already established, society as a whole has its own ideal dancer body type. So once dance was first recognized as a formal art form, ballet dance was really at its peak. So for those of you who don't have a lot of knowledge on it, ballet emphasizes technique. So it's really the unnatural rotation of the hips, arched feet, and a really regal posture. So George Balanchine, who's pictured up here, is the founder of New York City Ballet, probably one of the most prominent ballet companies in the United States. And he's quoted for telling dancers to eat nothing. And he had a demand for dancers with a very low weight. And I know for me that's scary to hear. And this aesthetic we see still really holds true today in a lot of professional and even novice companies. And it really hasn't changed since then. So, especially because dance is something that you start, I know I started as soon as I could walk, and I know a lot of you probably took ballet when you were little and stuff like that. So these norms become ingrained from a very young age. And personally, I never really reflected that a lot of my dance idols really do fit that ideal of being tall and thin and lanky until really recently when I was diving into body perception as a dancer. So a professional dancer, Dawn Smith Theodore, she had battled with anorexia, and to quote her, she said, she turned to starving herself as a need for control in her life, which, so I think she felt that if she couldn't control the things that happened in her career or what other people thought of her, the one thing she could control is her weight, and I think a lot of dancers definitely could relate to her in that sense of that feeling. And body image as a dancer will definitely can make or break your career. So it can even it can determine your success as a dancer, whether you're getting a job, whether you're going to be part of a company, and it's a very competitive atmosphere, and these standards still hold true today. So probably one of the most dangerous traits that a lot of dancers possess is an obsession with perfection. So even though dance is a creative art form, we do still see a lot of technical rules, especially in styles like ballet. There is a right and a wrong way to perform steps. So this emphasis on rules and techniques can really get in your head. And for those of you who haven't been in a dance studios are mirrored. And the purpose of that is so you can have the opportunity to self-correct and watch yourself. But it's very different than any other sport in that aspect because it leads to a lot of self-scrutiny. And you're always taught to be comparing yourselves to others in a positive way, but it can definitely be a little bit warped inside your own head. So in an article of Dance in the Media, quote, they said, "The media presents dance as a sport for perfectly proportioned individuals who are expected to act with grace and poise." And this quote really stuck out to me because it just seemed like a really unfair expectation that a lot of dancers feel the need that they need to live up to. Ballet teachers in particular are also known for being really strict. They may make comments about your body. No one really intentionally makes these comments, I don't think, with the intentions of bad psychological effects, but it definitely can take a toll on you as well. So an article by The Psychological Edge says performers with extreme perfectionistic thinking may strive to reach unattainable standards, making them susceptible to burnout and injury. So this really just proves that it goes beyond just a mental impact, but a physical health impact as well. And this perfectionistic drive can be a really good thing if you're trying to achieve, but can also have very detrimental health effects. So an overly perfectionistic attitude towards the body can sometimes have harmful effects as serious as eating disorders. So perceived body image leads to a lot of insecurity in dancers. We see this manifest in a lot of people are trying to eat cleaner or healthier, which is a great strategy if you're utilizing a nutritionist and doing it in healthy ways. But eating disorders are really on the extreme spectrum of that. A study by Dixie State College says that 50% of dancers have an eating disorder. That's a very scary statistic, I know, to hear from me. The two most prominent eating disorders would be anorexia and bulimia. And anorexia would be considered starving yourself, where bulimia would be binging and then purging. And some of these warning signs are extreme changes in diet and isolation from friends and excessive bathroom use. So I know for a lot of dancers, like, starving before a performance is kind of common, but they would justify it as, like, not wanting to feel bloated before a performance, but the reality is, like any other athlete, the dancers really need calories. You know, performances can last hours long. You can have multiple performances in a weekend, so it is really important that they are keeping up with their diet in a healthy way. In an article of prevalence of eating disorders, there was found that ballet dancers had a 4% higher risk in general than other dancers for eating disorders, and we really see that through ballet culture and these really intense critical norms that we've already explored. So even though it is apparent that eating disorders are a huge issue amongst dancers, the dance community is striving to make changes. So body image, perfectionism, and eating disorders may always be a part of dancers' body perception. However, body image is becoming a lot more inclusive in dance. Even like the past decade, I would say, we've seen a lot more people of different shapes and sizes and races performing dance. And also, as dance is evolving and more styles are being created, there is a lot more inclusivity and a lot more people that are able to dance. Also, as a society as a whole, we're a lot more educated about eating disorders. So now we know the warning signs to look for and also are willing to have an open conversation about it. Overall, I'm just really glad to be part of a community that is moving in a direction of positive progress towards body perception in dance. Thank you.
Okay, Mia, how did this go?
I think it went all right. I was kind of freaked out by the length of the speech, and I was hoping it wouldn't get in my head. But I don't know. I felt because it's something I can personally relate to a lot, it came out a lot smoother, and I was able to make a lot of eye contact, which was nice.
Okay, all right. Audience, if you could please offer some feedback.
You sounded like you really knew what you were talking about, and you were really passionate, and you put a lot of emotion into the speech that really made us, the audience, pay attention.
Yeah, I also thought that you could really see how you were personally related to this, and your credibility statement really came through, and you kept tying things back to yourself, which made it more interesting.
I thought your topic was super interesting, and I was engaged the whole time, and I liked the pictures that you chose as well. And I think the statistics that you used really backed up your topic.
I do have a question. What type of dance do you do?
Oh, it was actually in my credibility statement, and I didn't actually mention it. I've done competitive dance for a really long time, so that's pretty much every style, I would say. So I don't just train in ballet. I do jazz, hip-hop, fun stuff. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Does the body image thing tend to seep into things like hip-hop and jazz?
I didn't really get into it, but there definitely is, yeah. I would say, for different styles of dance, there's definitely, your body type would be better for this style, or, you fit in more with this. So, I consider myself more of a jazz dancer than a ballet dancer. But I think, the whole, body image distortion thing is a lot more bigger of an issue. I've given that statistic that ballet dancers have a higher rate of eating disorders. It's just the critical side of it is definitely more in ballet because it's more of a strict form than a lot of the other forms of dance.
Okay. Mia, did all your team talk? Yeah. Okay, I first of all, it definitely an interesting topic to share and bring to light the attention of an audience that might not be in that world. So thank you for that. You asked a question to begin your speech, and people, the quick survey sort of is the perception that they're skinny or thin, right? So people have that impression of them. I thought you did a nice job of identifying your credibility statement. Maybe motivate us to listen a little bit more in your introduction. Sort of draws why should we care about this, right? And maybe future parents or something that or your own personal experience with it with friends or whatnot. See about how you can kind of carve that out just a little bit more for us. I might suggest making clear your preview of your main points. Like, what are you going to actually be covering? Because I don't know if I heard that necessarily as clearly. So that way we can track your speech just a little bit more easily in the body of your speech. I noted that you had. I heard your research. You incorporated that. I would say. It doesn't necessarily have to be a direct quote all the time.
Okay.
It can certainly be a paraphrase.
Yeah.
Then that way you don't feel like kind of stuck, right?
Yeah.
Just use their research in order to be able to explain the point, advance the point that you want, and that's fine. That works just fine. I would say also make your transitions just a little bit more clean, so we can hear sort of what the points are that you're making. I thought that in terms of your PowerPoint slides, I thought it reinforced sort of that content and body image, right? And so that notion of perfection, and I did ballet as an adult, so yeah, that whole notion of I don't look anything close to what I'm supposed to look like, right? But you could also always see yourself in the mirror, so you knew how off you were, and so I think reinforcing that idea, is interesting. I go to a gym and they don't have a mirror intentionally for that reason. So I think that was a value to bring up. I thought I liked your final statement. I think there was sort of that how you ended it and seeing change on the horizon of what was socially normed and has been ingrained in the dance community for so long. Sort of the opportunity for change is certainly ripe in that area. I thought that was a nice way to close it up. I thought I did think that you came across conversationally. I think that you did this. Your interest in this topic was definitely noticed. You made really strong eye contact. I think delivery-wise, I think you looked a lot more poised and confident in what you were sharing, and just having feeling like an authority because this is your lived experience. I think that came through really, really strongly. So bringing that sense of yourself up there, I think that was really, really strong. So those would be my comments to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.